John Sweeney testified when he choked Dominique Dunne to death. He did not do it out of malice. He did it out of blind, uncontrollable rage. His lawyer argued that Sweeney was an ordinarily reasonable person who had a horrible night. But this woman blows that argument to smithereens. Her name is Lillian Pierce. She was 30 when she began dating Sweeney in the late 70s. Her story is harrowing. She says Sweeney beat her at least 10 times, slapping her, punching her, breaking her nose, collapsing her lung, and puncturing her eardrum, sending her to the hospital 2 times. She finally left him, and around a year later, Sweeney met Dominique. Lillian Pierce testified outside the presence of the jury, so Judge Katz could determine if jurors should hear her story. In the end, Judge Katz ruled her testimony was too prejudicial to Sweeney, so jurors never heard from her.
I was like, yeah, it's prejudicial. It shows that he's got a history of beating up women. What? That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life.
So there were more than a dozen incidents of violence that jurors never heard. They didn't hear from Lillian Pierce. They never heard about the multiple times Sweeney beat Dominique, other than the one time he choked her 5 weeks before he completed the job.
Has had the opportunity to read and consider these materials.
I have, Your Honor.
Jurors got 112 pages of confusing instructions and retreated to the jury room, where they spent 8 agonizing days deciding whether Sweeney was guilty of manslaughter or second-degree murder.
Second-degree murder. So I remember thinking, I don't think there's enough information for them to make that decision.
Turns out he was right. Jurors struggled with the key point. They didn't understand what a crime of passion was. They went to the judge 4 times, asking him to clarify, but the judge wouldn't do it. In the end, the jury voted for manslaughter and misdemeanor assault for the non-fatal choking.
My reaction was obviously anger. I would say shock, except there was a sort of inevitableness about the outcome. We were just devastated.
Almost everybody in that courtroom took like a deep breath all at once. So it was like this collective, it's the opposite of a gasp. I was really angry with the jury, even though I understood what the information they were working with. So I think in my head, I thought, well, he's only going to get 10 years.
Not even close. Sweeney was sentenced to the maximum, 6.5 years in prison.
John Sweeney's sentence hearing was emotion-packed. The ex-Maison chef rarely raised his head from his hand.
Cameras were only allowed during sentencing, not during the trial. During sentencing, Sweeney's mother testified if her son was violent, it was because he learned it from his abusive father.
He beat me up and broke my jaw in 2 places and my coccyx bone. So I went and stayed with my daughter.
Dominique's parents also testified that even the maximum sentence was wildly inadequate.
For 5 days, we watched our daughter and the boy's sisters die in Cedars-Sinai Hospital.
And I therefore beg you, Judge Katz, to give the maximum possible sentence to John Sweeney, which is little enough for what he has done.
There was severe criticism of the verdict by the media and the public. Demonstrators protested outside the courthouse.
Stop violence against women! Stop violence against women!
Many blamed Judge Katz. And then, during sentencing, Katz stunned everyone by agreeing the verdict was an outrage, but he blamed it on the jury.
He continued to squeeze the life out of her. And finally, we know from the coroner that at least a minimum of 3 minutes, and probably in the realm of 4 to 6, where she suffered oxygen deprivation and obviously brain death as we know it. That is what's happened, and that is malice. And if that isn't malice, then I don't know what malice is.
For him to come out the following week and blame the jury
I thought was very much out of line.
I thought that was a cheap shot. Maybe he was deflecting from the criticism that he got from the family, Dominique Dunne's family, and some of the press, I think, had criticized him.
Mrs. Dunne, of all the players, who do you blame most for the outcome of the case?
I would say Judge Katz, quite frankly.
Back in 1983, after the sentencing, I interviewed Judge Katz.
Are you not, by your silence, telling the jury you're just going to have to do the best you can, maybe flip a coin and figure out whether he's guilty or innocent?
Well, no, we try and respond. In other words, we may redirect them back to a portion of the instruction.
But 4 times they came to you and said they didn't understand it, and 4 times you simply said, I can't answer that question. Were you not saying to them, at least the 4th time, I'm not going to help you out. If you don't understand it, that's your business. Just come to a judgment.
No, I don't think I was saying that. I was trying to get them to read all of the instructions as a whole.
And what about blocking Lillian Pierce from testifying about the brutality she suffered at the hands of John Sweeney?
I have no doubt in my own mind that if the Lillian Pierce testimony would have come in, that they probably would have convicted him of second-degree murder. But that wouldn't have been right. One should not be tried because he's a bad person. He should be convicted on the merits of the evidence.
Judge Katz was clearly correct. Lillian Pierce would have sunk Sweeney. She has never spoken publicly until now, and her story is horrifying.
One time he broke my arm, he broke my nose. He pushed me down the stairs of my apartment. That's when I went to the hospital, and I had a collapsed lung. He loved to beat my chest. It was kind of routinely towards the end.
Was justice done for Dominique Dunne?
No, absolutely not.
John Sweeney was convicted of manslaughter, not murder, for choking the life out of his former girlfriend, actress Dominique Dunne. He was sentenced to 6.5 years, but served only 3.5.
This was clearly a case of murder.
It was called manslaughter, like it was an automobile accident gone wrong. It really should have been first-degree murder because of all the thought and intention that goes into strangling someone.
Judge Burton Katz would not allow the jury to hear from Sweeney's prior girlfriend, Lillian Pierce, who says he repeatedly brutalized her during their 2-year relationship. Lillian Pierce has never spoken publicly about her relationship with Sweeney until now.
He was stronger than I was. He would hold me down, or I was standing up and he would hold me that I couldn't move. And he broke my arm. He broke my nose. He pushed me down the stairs of my apartment. That's when I went to the hospital once, too. And I had a collapsed lung. He loved to break my arm, break my nose, you know, beat my chest. It was kind of routinely towards the end.
Lillian Pierce made it clear this was Sweeney's thing. When he was pissed, he attacked.
I think it was just general rage that he took out on me.
When he beat you, do you believe it was out of passion or just blind anger?
I think it was just blind anger about the way his life was going. Instead of beating a pillow, I was there.
The whole case hinged on whether the jury believed John Sweeney acted out of this uncontrollable, momentary passion, or whether he was wired to lash out at the woman he was with when he got angry. Which is it?
I would say wired. He was wired. He was a keg waiting to explode.
We showed 2 jurors video of my interview with Lillian Pierce, and all these years later, it hit them hard. He would hold
and he would hold me that I couldn't move. At one time, he broke my arm. He broke my nose. He pushed me down the stairs of my apartment. That's when I went to the hospital once, too.
That was very difficult to watch. I'm a little choked up, more than a little choked up to see her and to hear what she went through. It's just horrifying. I knew nothing about what Lillian Pierce said at that time, or until right now. I was gobsmacked. It was, oh my God. I knew we got it wrong.
Would she have made a difference to you?
Yes, a huge difference. It would have made all the difference in the world.
One time he broke my arm. He broke my nose. He pushed me down the stairs of my apartment, and I had a collapsed lung at that time because of that.
Makes me more sad.
How much of a difference would that have made?
It would have made a huge difference if we had heard this, and we would have been out of there in a few hours. It would have been guilty of at least second degree, if not first degree murder.
I think it would have been a very quick conviction of second-degree murder. No question in my mind.
Was justice done for Dominique Dunne?
No. Absolutely not.
Based on what John Sweeney did to you, do you feel what he eventually did to Dominique was inevitable?
Yes. Yes. One wrong move, one wrong word. I'm sure he hit her way before because she broke up with him, is what probably caused this.
I think that if we had the wherewithal to look, we would definitely find other women that we don't know about that came before and maybe after her.
Well, we found another woman. A woman who had a baby with John Sweeney and then ran for her life.
I can't say his name. It's somebody we all know very well. He said, listen, I know people. We can have him taken care of in jail. You just have to give me the word. And I knew he knew people. He was that kind of guy. And I said, you mean like mafia? He goes, you know. I go,